everybody. So a couple of things I want you to pay attention to on Thursday's day of trading. First of all, let's begin with Tesla. Tesla yesterday, I brought out a video talking about the retest of this macro support and engulfing candlestick at support, a very bullish signal. A signal essentially was generated. On Wednesday, you can see we closed up just under $7, so it looks as though we're starting to see that oscillation, that next bullish bounce off from this 340 pivot, which I believe is going to take us on all the way up to $380 a share. If we do, however, come back down and retest this pivot, that is a tradable opportunity for people who are looking for a short-term bullish trade on Tesla as these markets continue to the upside. Now, continuing on into Netflix. Netflix is relatively interesting as well. Since we have made our profitable trade up to about $189 a share, we have pulled back. We do have a series of engulfing bearish candlesticks, but what we have seen again Monday and Tuesday, Wednesday, is that bounce back to the upside. What it looks as though is occurring right now is we're retesting roughly that same pivot again, 189 all the way up to 190. It's going to be very interesting if Netflix can push on all the way back up into this pivot, because then it is going to set up a bidirectional trade opportunity. The reason I say that right now is because we have definitively just pushed in or placed in some lower structure, which is going to be very, very important for Netflix moving forward. If we get to the pivot and begin to roll, that is essentially the neckline, so to speak, of where a really good short opportunity is going to set up. Also, if I continue the discussion, it looks as though potentially we may be setting up that of sort of an ascending triangle, or even potentially, if I blend the chart pattern a little bit more, is potentially a cup and handle type of trade setup. Now, this is something that I haven't really traded all that aggressively over the past maybe 2 to 3 years. A long time ago, maybe 5-6 years ago, I traded these cup and handle patterns a lot. That was during, I guess, the earlier phase of the primary upward trend, this macro trend that we have essentially been in since early 2009. It looks as though Netflix might be setting up one of these patterns, which is an absolute joy and pleasure to trade. It all comes down to, of course, what happens once we come back up into this pivot. So that is going to be something that we keep an eye on as we close out this week's worth of trading, but also transition into the week upcoming, or the second week of October. Now, moving into Goldman Sachs, Goldman Sachs hit our target on Monday. We have essentially slowed down. So we are building that upper structure, which I was talking about over the weekend. I wouldn't be jumping into Goldman Sachs at the moment bullish. I think it needs a little bit more time until, of course, we pull back down and probably set up a very similar type of pattern, or at least a little higher low, the lower structure, as what we've done already on Netflix and how this is going to sort of present itself in Goldman Sachs. So I wouldn't be looking to act necessarily immediately on Goldman Sachs. Google is still holding above that 959 entry. You can see that it looks as though we're setting up a little bit of a pennant pattern, which should take us up to 990, if not all the way up to 1,000. So this is a trade that you just need to hold on to for a little bit longer until, of course, it resolves itself to the upside. Now, again, CVX is hovering above our most recent trigger, 116.42. We've had some really good entries on this, 107, 110, 113. We hit our target at 115.40, and now it's just consolidating sideways. This looks as though it's setting up that of a stair-step consolidation, and this is going to be a bullish breakout as long as the macro markets themselves continue in their macro trend to the upside. So CVX is continuing to form. We were down 24 cents today, but all in all, we are still moving sideways in this particular trade. COP, very similar to what is setting up on Goldman Sachs. You see how Goldman Sachs is slowing? Or if I go back to COP, you can see what I'm talking about. We have that upper resistance area just above this pivot, shy of $50 per share. And we're also at the moment retesting, or at least putting in some form of the next higher low as well. So give this a little bit of time. I assume it's going to continue to move in the upward direction. We're looking very healthy above these exponential moving averages. Again, we've broken above the long-term simple moving averages. And this is generally what happens once we get up and retest a very important pivot. The market, or in this particular instance, the individual stock, will slow. It needs time to sort of digest the recent gains and the profits that have been made until we can shake them out, wait for those exponential moving averages to catch up to price, and then that will help propel it, or at least continue it in its bullish trend, which we're currently in. Now, if we fast forward to Caterpillar, yesterday we triggered 126.13. Again, a stair-step consolidation pattern. Talking about this over the weekend as well in that pro analysis class. We've broken out. We're trading at 126.74. So if you are in this trade, let your stops, or I should say, position your stops most likely at a minimum 123.59. If not, put it all the way below the open window down here. This is coming in at about 121.80 if I can use my own eyes, my own sort of eyesight without bringing up the exact figure. You want to go to this candlestick here, and this is the bottom gap support of the open window. The open window looks as if it is a continuation gap, and again, this has been a stellar trade for a lot of people. 115, 116, 116.77, 119.44, 119.65. We hit our target at 121. 53. We've had to wait for this next trade opportunity, but again, I don't know how many profitable trades we've had on Caterpillar over the past 2 to 3 months, but it has been an exceptional time to be trading Caterpillar. Let me transition now into Baidu. This is another very similar stock to COP and also Goldman Sachs. We are running up into our first target. The trade has been executed very profitably, and now, pardon me if I can bring up the right stock, we're essentially just once again putting in that top resistance area, and also we're probably going to set up another new higher low as well. So just pay attention to Baidu. At the moment, it's not the time to be looking to aggressively jump into this. It needs some more additional time. It's not something that we can sort of look at and say, hey, on Thursday, this is a trade opportunity for all of us, to look at to close out the week. Now, again, Boeing Airlines, this is a little bit more erratic, a little bit more volatile. We're still building that upper series of resistance, also that lower area of support. If I zoom in on the details of this, at least into the candlestick construction, you can see that we've got a shooting star candle, we've got multiple doji candlesticks, we've got high wave spinning tops, we've got normal spinning tops, other doji candlesticks. This is showing us a little bit of early reversal signals, so to speak, of in the world of candlestick analysis. But if I just bring up again some of these templates, the CCI is still relatively healthy, and as we have broken out and moved into this sideways sort of reset, the ADX has essentially reset as well. So the trend is still healthy, although we are starting to see some early reversal signals. It's going to be interesting whether or not Boeing Airlines continues. It has been quite aggressive. Again, this has been a very profitable trade. 187, 192, 206. I did not take the 209. That was a big gap to the upside, a very profitable time if you held into that, but 242, 246, and here we are. We're trading up at 255 at the moment. No trade triggered on Boeing Airlines at the moment. Continuing on into Amazon, I've been talking about this as well. We are drilling into this macro support. As long as we hold above this green rectangular box, we are still bullish on Amazon. In fact, we came up on Wednesday and we retested our breakout entry, 966.93. We floated above it during Wednesday's day's worth of trading. It's going to be interesting to see how this trades on Thursday. If I change these oscillators, you can see that they're starting to actually trigger bullish. So the RSI is quite healthy. The Stokes is turning up and the MACD is starting to see some minimum pushes back into that positive territory above that neutral line. So it looks as though once again we're setting up the oscillation back up to about $1,000 a share. I'm expecting this to sort of coincide with the month of October. By the end of October or prior to earnings, we should be up at about $1,000 per share on Amazon, and that should work out very nicely as well for people who have been able to position themselves, hold on to this during the brief pullback. Very similar to the period in Goldman Sachs over here before we went parabolic most recently over the past 3 to 4 weeks. But again, you can just see that as long as we at least identify these macro areas of support and you have enough time on those option contracts, you can hold onto them as long as you can stomach, at least calculate the risk prior to entering into the trade. You can just let, of course, these individual stocks do their thing as they grind higher within this bullish upward trend that we're seeing continue even through Wednesday's trading session across the board for the S&P, the Dow, and the Nasdaq. To close with, this is a little piece of sort of counter analysis at the moment on Apple. Apple has been a bearish, or pardon me, a losing stock for us. I must say that Apple has been a stock where more or less it has been a losing stock. I admit that. I'll put my hand up. So be it. It happens in the world of technical analysis. That's fine. But what appears to be happening right now is potentially a back test of this pivot. I've been speaking about this in the past couple of videos. I've been speaking, or at least relating and talking about Apple, but this 155, 154 pivot, this looks like a bear flag. I'm just going to say it. I mean, we can highlight bull flags, for instance, on the S&P 500. We can highlight, of course, stair-step consolidations, which are bullish in this context. But in the context of Apple, this is a very bearish picture. As we've seen the bounce off from this 149 pivot all the way back up to about 155, volume is trickling out of Apple, and it looks like it's already starting to break down. If you pay attention to Tuesday's candle, we have a candlestick very close to that of a shooting star. We have a hangman also on Monday, and then on Wednesday we have almost another doji candle. This is pretty much a little just a spinning top candlestick as we're retesting this pivot. So it wouldn't surprise me to see Apple actually roll over and begin to break down below about 151. It doesn't necessarily mean there's a trade opportunity immediately on the downside. In fact, I'm not trading it to the downside, but I am pointing out to you, do not be surprised if you see weakness flow into Apple, which takes us back down to roughly 150. And if we start cracking below 148, 143 is going to look like a very nice target on this particular trade. All right, so I just wanted to point that out to you. Outside of that, the Dow Jones is continuing to the upside, a very minimal sort of continuation on Wednesday, up 19 points, just under 20 points. The S&P 500 again continuing, pushing up another 3 points. And the Nasdaq, I mean, these candlesticks were looking a little bit bearish. They were looking like sort of shooting star candlesticks or even gravestone dojis, but they did close relatively healthy, or at least we did end up with the white real body to the actual candlestick, up to 2.92 points on the NASDAQ. Everything is A-OK. There are no signals at the moment, pardon me, to be concerned about on any of these broader markets, but I will, of course, keep you updated if we see any changes Thursday and also Friday. If you have any questions at all, email me, success@pivotpoint-trading.com. Enjoy your evening. Enjoy your Thursday's day's worth of trading. I'll bring you back, or I'll be back with you with another market recap. Again, if you have any questions, email me, success@pivotpoint-trading.com. All the best, everyone. It's James signing off on behalf of Pivot Point Trading. Goodbye.